Hey, what's up folks at home? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're gonna dive into the many ways that I rig the Zoom trick worm. So we're gonna talk about 8 or 9 ways that I rig this, what situations I fish them in, how I rig them, and what's going on. So let's dive in, we'll see you underwater. All right, there are 3 different sizes of Zoom trick worm that I really love. So here's your first size, the number 5, right? Zoom Finesse trick worm. And this thing is literally a killer, right? It's what I fish when I go to a new lake and I'm not sure what's there. Hundreds of different colors, awesome. Then when I fish a lake that I know there's a lot of fish there, but it's pressured, I move up to the 7-inch super Zoom trick worm, and it's literally another straight up killer. So many great colors, you can't go wrong with it. I really like this one deeper. And then finally, when you're looking for that big bite, you have the Zoom Magnum trick worm. When you're looking for that bigger than average bite, that better kicker fish at the end of the day. And I use these in very specific places for very specific things. So let's dive in. Okay, the first 2 ways that I really like to rig this worm are on a Ned rig, but a extra wide gap Ned rig, and then your traditional shaky head, right? So the first way on this lifted jigs Ned head, it's an 1/8 ounce, right? I'm gonna literally rig it Texas style. So go through the head there, I'm gonna get that up to the head, just there flush. Now I'm gonna flush this up right here, and literally there's your Texas rig, and I'm going to throw that Texas rig in weed beds, up under docks. That is going to come through everything. I really enjoy this around brush and timber. It's just going to do a great job for me in a lot of different situations there. So let's look at it in comparison. If I'm a little bit deeper, I'm going to go with that shaky head. If I'm around rock, I'm going to go with that shaky head. This is a Woo Tungsten shaky head. Now what I'm going to do, see, to make this fit right, is I'm going to take a little bit of this worm, I'm going to clip that off right there so I got a nice flat head to screw that in, because fall is key. I'm going to take this worm, push it onto there, screw this onto the screw lock here, right there till it's flush up against it. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to bend that screw lock so this is a rig straight. I'm going to take this worm and embed it right there. Go a little bit further down and in, right there, boom. And what I got there is a shaky head worm that's going to stand up on bottom really nicely and do it there. So those are my first 2 ways that I rig this bait if I want bottom contact. Grass, weeds, things like that, I'm going to go with a lifted jigs profile. Rock, deeper profile, veins of different things deeper, I'm going to go with that shaky head, right? Just a different way to look at that. All right, next up we have our weed situations. Now, we can go a weighted or an unweighted Texas rig. So how I Texas rig this worm, here I'm going to run it through the nose just like that. And then I'm gonna measure down on this worm just like that. Twist it through. And then I'm gonna measure it there. Pinch where that hook is coming through on that keeper. Rig that worm straight through and then Tex pose it just like that on top. So there's your weightless rig. I love throwing this in shallow water at tentative bass, at fish that have seen a lot of lures. This is a great post-spawn bait when the fish are shallow. It's a really good fall, slow, seductive, things like that. Now, you can also rig this bait Texas rigged, weighted. So I'm gonna slide this on. Now, when I fish a Texas rig, you can fish this anywhere, deep, shallow. I really like to fish this with a 1/16 or an 1/8 ounce. If you're really thinking about it, I always like to add a bead to mine. And brass and glass is what it used to be called. I fish all tungsten weights all the time. So here I've added, if you can see that, a Texas rig, but it's weighted, and you can peg that weight, you can make that weight stay there, or you can let it free swim. I found that an unpegged trick worm in open water does a lot of good. I like the bead on it though, because it makes it look like an eye. It also gives it a rattle, right? And if I'm different and I look different, then I'm gonna get bit in the underwater world. So there's your weighted and unweighted Texas rig. Really good, go anywhere, do anything baits. If I want some bottom contact, but I want a slower fall versus that shaky head or that Ned head where it's a stand up. This is kind of a lay down, do nothing worm on the bottom. Both weighted and unweighted varieties. Next up, we have our Nico setup. And Nicos are really good on super deep grass lines or up under docks where fish have seen everything. So the first thing I'm gonna do is find the thick part of that worm. Here's the 7-inch worm, right? What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna slide that Nico weight right up into the head of the worm. And I'm gonna take care to make sure the Nico weight is straight in there. So as we push it in, I chose a transparent worm so you can see there's that Nico weight in the head of that worm. Push it up in there. You can put a dab of super glue over that worm to seal it up right there. Then you're gonna take your wacky rigger. I have my wacky O-ring tool right here. Literally handy. You're gonna push that down. I always, when I Nico rig stuff, I always use a rigging tool. You don't lose as many weights and things like that. You want the right size. Then you're gonna slide this down just like that right onto the rig, and you're gonna bring this down to where you want to rig it. I like to rig right by that worm sack right there, and I'm gonna take that Owner Octopus drop shot hook, and I'm gonna hook that right there. So there is your Nico rig on the bottom. That is a killer. You can also fish this vertically and shake it. It's a straight up finesse presentation that will get bit. It looks killer on the bottom. It's got a real subtle gliding fall to it. It looks really good falling down on those deep weed lines. Great way to present a bait that fish haven't normally seen. All right. Next up, we have 3 kind of awkward ways that I really like to rig these worms. The next one being the free rig. So you take a bell weight with an open end on it right there. Basically put that on your line, and then you have that rig right there. And the Zoom trick worm on a free rig, literally you're just gonna Texas rig that worm. So take it there, out the bottom, turn it up, put it on there. That free rig is literally a sliding weight. It's almost like an unpegged Texas weight. It just has a little bit more of a direct fall. On the bottom, it sits a lot like that, and then it's gonna float up and move. You can put a toothpick in the end of this to really slow it down on the free rig, but it looks really, really good free rigged just like that, right? Really enjoy throwing things in different ways so that fish don't get used to everything that I am throwing. The free rig, I'm gonna play with it a lot this spring. Really, really, really excited and looking forward to it. Next up, we have the Tokyo rig, right? I'm flipping heavy matted vegetation. I am going to turn to my Tokyo rig, and I like to rig it with as light as weight as it will punch through. And that Tokyo rig right there is gonna look like a mini drop shot right there. Good looking weight, good way to keep that out of bottom muck in vegetation. If there's like moss on the bottom, that Tokyo rig with the Zoom trick worm on it is going to look amazing. Next up, we have our drop shot. Obviously, don't have to tie up a drop shot for you. You've done 100 videos on drop shots already. I like to fish this worm nose hooked just like that on a drop shot. You can use a bubble rig on this where you can put that bigger hook in it, just Texas rig like an unweighted right there. But sometimes I like to fish that trick worm like this up under docks. It's great to twitch it out with just that nose hook on it. They're gonna inhale the whole thing when they eat it. So you're literally going to have a nice, good looking bait there to present towards that fish. Folks, hope you learned something about the way that I rig these baits, the way that I use them in the situations that I fish them. It's a $5 pack of worms, and it's going to last you a long time. It's gonna catch you a lot of fish, and it will help you in a lot of situations. So snag a trick worm today, go to our links on Omnia, help us out there, buy some gear, help make the channel great, help us continue to go forward and success. Give us a like and subscribe. We'll see you next time.